Hi everyone and welcome. Today I want to talk about something I'm really excited about, Rust and its growing role in web development. Over the next 20 minutes, we will do a quick dive into what Rust is, why it's becoming a compelling choice to building web applications, and look at some key frameworks for both backend and front-end development. So, what is Rust? At its core, Rust is a modern system programming language. It was initially created by Mozilla Research around 2010 and is now overseen by the Rust Foundation. Its primary goals are to provide memory safety, concurrency, and high performance in one single package. Now let's talk about the core philosophy of Rust. The core philosophy of Rust revolves around enabling developers to write software that is both safe and fast. It aims to give you the fine-grained control you'd expect from languages like C and C++, but with powerful compile time guarantees that prevent many common bugs that plague those languages. Think of it as system programming without the fear. This philosophy is backed by some key features. The most famous is the memory safety without a garbage collector. Rust achieves this through a unique system of ownership, borrowing, and lifetime. Now, these concepts can take a little getting used to, but the gist is that the compiler statically analyzes your code to ensure memory is managed correctly. This means no null pointer dereferences, no dangling pointers, and no data races in concurrent code. All code at compile time and not at 3 a.m. when your server will crash for sure. And this leads directly to performance. Rust is fast. Rust is really fast. It compiles down to native machine code and gives you direct memory control, putting its performance at the same league as C and C++. We can see a picture here. It also features zero-cost abstractions, meaning you can write a high-level expressive code without paying a performance penalty for it. And then there is concurrency. Rust is designed for the modern multi-core world. Its ownership and type system extend to concurrency, allowing you to write multi-threaded code with a high degree of confidence. This is often called fearless concurrency because the compiler helps you avoid many common pitfalls. I remember me doing concurrency back then, 10 years ago, in some other languages, I will not mention it, Java, and that really gave me nightmares. And finally, I want to spend a minute to talk about the excellent tooling that we have in Rust. Rust has prioritized a great developer experience. There is Cargo, which I think is a fantastic build system and package manager, all in once, I'll say. It handles dependencies, testing, building, publishing your code in a very seamlessly experience. There is also Rust FMT that keeps your code consistently formatted, and Clippy that is very useful, is a useful linter that catches common mistakes and also suggests improvements. And it seems developers really appreciate all the Rust ecosystem. For several years running, Rust has been voted as the most loved programming language in the Stack Overflow developer survey. So this does mean that it's not just hype. It really reflects a genuine appreciation for the power, safety, and developer experience Rust offers. So with all these strengths, what is Rust traditionally famous for? Well, it's made huge waves in system programming. I think that if you are in system programming, you've heard about Rust a lot already. Think about operating system components, game engines, browser components, especially in Firefox. It's fantastic, for example, for command line tools because they start fast, and they run efficiently, and it's also gaining traction in embedded systems where reliability and performance are very critical. But what about web development? Historically, Rust hasn't been the first language that springs to mind when we build websites, web APIs, unlike, for example, JavaScript, Python, Ruby, or Java. The ecosystem was younger, the learning curve for system-level concepts could be a bit steep for typical web tasks, but this perception is rapidly changing, and this is why we are here today to explore this. And let's start with the backend. Why would you consider Rust for your backend? The same reason it excels everywhere. Raw performance means that you can handle more users with less hardware, so less money. Its reliability means fewer runtime errors and more robust services, and its strong type system helps you build complex systems that are easier to maintain and refactor. So it's absolutely worth it to run a backend in Rust. I want to give a quick look to some popular backend frameworks. In this quick introduction, I'll just mention them, but I highly encourage you to just test them out. The first up is ActixWeb. This is one of the most mature and battle-fielded Rust web framework. It's also my personal favorite one. It's renowned for its incredible performance, consistently topping benchmarks. I think you saw a slide a couple of minutes ago. ActixWeb is built on an actor system, which is a powerful model for concurrency programming, but you don't need to be an expert in actors to get started. It's feature-rich, it supports HTTP 1, HTTP 2, and has a robust middleware system. If you need to build high-performance APIs that can handle massive traffic, ActixWeb is a very strong contender. This is what I would recommend. But I want to see also other backend frameworks. The next is Axum. Axum is a newer framework, but it comes with the team behind Tokyo, which is the de facto asynchronous runtime in the Rust ecosystem. This gives it a very solid foundation. Axum focuses on ergonomics, modularity, and an excellent integration with the wider Tokyo ecosystems. It uses a library called Tower for its service and middleware abstraction, which is incredibly flexible and allows for composing applications in a very elegant way. It's gaining popularity very quickly and is praised for its clean design and type safety. I will suggest you to give it a try. And then there is Rocket. Rocket aims to make web development in Rust simple and intuitive, often drawing comparisons to frameworks like Flask in Python or Sinatra in Ruby. It uses Rust's powerful macro system extensively. This is a way to write code that runs automatically. You can also see this in the basic println hello world in Rust. And Rocket is used to provide a very clean and declarative way to define routes and handle requests. This can lead to a very readable code. If you want to create a backend with very few lines of code, Rocket is your choice. For a long time, Rocket required using a nightly version of the Rust compiler for some of its magic, but this is becoming less of a constraint. If developer experience and rapid development are high on your list, Rocket is definitely worth checking out. And now the hard part. Can Rust be used even on the front end? And does it make sense to use Rust on the front end? The short answer is yes, but let's see this in details. When we are talking about Rust on the front end, we are primarily talking about WebAssembly or WASM. What is WebAssembly? It's a binary instruction format for a stack-based virtual machine. Essentially, it's a way to run code written in languages other than JavaScript in web browsers, all near native speed. And Rust is a first-class citizen for WASM. The Rust team has invested heavily in WASM support, making it incredibly easy to compile Rust code into WASM modules. And this is a game changer because it means that you can write performance-critical part of your front-end application in Rust, compile it to WASM, and run it directly to the browser. This is fantastic for things like game development, data visualization, image and video processing, or any complex client-side logic that might bog down JavaScript. So what frameworks help us build the UIs with Rust and WASM? One of the most established is Vue. Vue is a component-based framework, very similar in concept to React or Vue.js. You might be surprised how similar it looks like. You build your UI as a tree of reusable components, manage state, and Vue handles updating the DOM efficiently, typically using a virtual DOM. It has a good documentation and an active community, making it a solid choice for building complex single-page applications entirely in Rust. Shameless plug, I have also a full-stack application written completely in Rust, using Vue as a front-end and Rocket as a back-end. Shameless plug of my YouTube channel. Another exciting framework is Leptos. Leptos takes a slightly different approach, focusing on fine-grained reactivity, more akin to frameworks like Solid.js. It uses signals to track state changes and updates only the precise part of the DOM that need to change, which can lead to excellent performance and smaller bundle sizes. Leptos is also designed with full-stack development in mind, offering features for server-side rendering, easy integration between your Rust backend and frontend code, and much more. It's modern and gaining a lot of traction for its performance characteristics and developer experience. And the last one I want to mention is Deoxus. Deoxus is interesting because it aims to be a portable UI framework. You can write your Deoxus application once and render it to the web using, of course, WASM, but also to desktop applications, mobile applications, and even terminal user interfaces. It uses a React-like hook and component model, which feel familiar for web developers using hooks, of course. Deoxus prioritizes the developer experience and aims to make it easy to build UIs across different platforms with Rust. It's a very ambitious and promising project. So we have seen that Rust offers compelling benefits for web development, performance, reliability, and the exciting possibility of WebAssembly on the front end. That alone might be worth to give Rust a try. The ecosystems for both backend and frontend are maturing very rapidly, with powerful frameworks ready to be used. And now I want to share a final thought, because learning Rust can have a reputation for being a bit challenging, especially with concepts like ownership and the borrow checker, things that if you've never tried Rust, you have no idea what I'm talking about. However, I genuinely believe that for many developers, especially those who already have some experience with web development, tackling Rust through web development might be one of the best ways to learn it. Think about it. If you already understand concepts like APIs, CRUD operations, request-response cycles, component-based UIs, or state management from your experience using JavaScript, Python, PHP, or other web stacks, you are already familiar with this landscape. So you can then focus on learning the Rust syntax and its unique safety features with a context you already understand. And this is what made me also fall in love with Rust through web development. So you're not learning web development and Rust from scratch simultaneously. You are applying Rust to problems you are already familiar with solving. This can make the learning curve feel much more manageable and immediately rewarding. You get to see the Rust benefits, like how the compiler catches errors before they hit production, how fast the WASM module runs, in a practical setting. So if you're curious about Rust, if you're intrigued by WebAssembly, or if you're just looking to build more performant and reliable web applications, I really encourage you to give one of these frameworks a try. Pick a small project, maybe re-implement a simple API or a small front-end component, and see how it feels. Spoiler alert, you will probably like it. Rust has a way of making you feel like a superhero once you get past that initial learning phase, because the compiler has your back. Thank you so much for your time. I hope that this has given you a good overview of Rust in the web development space. Of course, we just had 20 minutes, but I wanted at least to mention the benefits and all the frameworks that are worth trying. There are more, but I think those are the most important ones. I am Francesco Ciulla and I create content about Rust. I'm also writing a book about Rust that should be out soon. You can find me at this QR code or at francescociulla.com. And I'm here also to answer all your questions. I really wish you best of luck in learning Rust, especially if you are a web developer. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks a lot, Francesco. That was very nice. I especially love the meme of the biscuit. Once you try it, that's very relevant. I also love the fact that you can do front end with thanks to laptops. That's also quite a nice feature of Rust. We have a few questions from the audience. First one would be, what's your take on AI on Rust? Because some Rustaceans think that agents are not as helpful in comparison to JavaScript.
Yes, first of all, thank you so much. And this is the real Francesco. This was a recorded video, but I watched the recording again, so now I'm here. About AI and Rust, I think that AI and Rust will work great in like 6 months or 1 year. Because of course, JavaScript, we have larger code bases. But you know what? With AI can help us a lot in writing new code, right? So maybe we will reach a point where efficiency will matter more. Because if I can use AI to write the same application in JavaScript and Rust will cost me less, at that point we are lowering the bar. Do you agree? And the problem is that I will never write an application in a language I never tried, not even C or
Makes
like
sense.
assembly, just because it's fast. Okay, so my suggestion is learn Rust now, and probably in 6 months, 1 year, when AI will be trained more, and for sure we will get there, and we are going in that direction. You can write a Rust application using AI, which is efficient. It costs less money, so that would be the dream. So AI and Rust, I'm pumped for how AI can empower, because at that point we all will want a more efficient application, right? This
It's
is my
also a
take.
matter of stability and the fact that if you use the tool, you ask questions, then the AI gonna pick it up. If you don't, then yeah, you're gonna have less content. Makes sense.
The mainstream, the mainstream thing, it always makes sense, especially for the beginners or someone who is new. Of course, if you are here, if you're interested about Rust and web development, I think you already made an API with JavaScript or Python in your life, or Java. So we're trying more to say more mid-level developers or more senior developers. So this is, I think, the direction that we are going to, but we will see in the future, and we will see if this is correct.
Bouncing on this, do you think that it's difficult to get started and build something with it?
Yeah, this is the same question of asking, like, how much time do I have to dedicate? Do I have to go to the gym to get fit? It's the same question with a different. How much do I have to run so then I can run a marathon? It depends is the only answer here. I would say it depends on your background. If you never coded a front-end application, probably it will take some time. Maybe now with AI, if you're very curious, maybe you can be quicker. You can even try to vibe code an app. Good luck with that. I will spend some time to have the basics. Once you know what an API is, what are what is a CRUD application, what is use state. For example, you mentioned front-end. For example, I'm a fan of this U framework because it reminds me React. But if you never tried React, you have no idea what I'm talking about. So I suppose that if you are here, that if you are a person watching this talk, maybe you tried React. This is something that I give for granted, but maybe this is not true. So my question is that how proficient you are now. So pretending that you already have tried React and you know the concepts very well, I think it not take some that much. But if you never,
Yeah, I mean,
if you don't know what
also
use state is, yeah.
So sorry, I was just saying that even if you just start with Rust without prior JavaScript experience, it's also not a bad thing, I guess, because the errors and ecosystem is also very nice. So
this is what I should do, right? Because I should be biased and say just stop using JavaScript, just use Rust by default. I will not say this because that will not be the truth. I would say that probably learning framework like JavaScript framework probably is the most natural way. Maybe if Rust becomes really a competitor on the front end, we might have people that just learn Rust because they want to know. It's the same idea of using Node for the backend. So I think that Rust is very solid choice for backend because there the efficiency really matters. At that point, if you have an API in Rust, maybe it might be worth a try, especially if you're interested into WebAssembly, to try to do the front end in Rust. So that's my idea. But of course, we can do whatever we want. But the WebAssembly, I think it's a very fascinating technology. I think I never heard a person say like WebAssembly sucks in my life because it's an interesting technology, especially for newer languages. And we will see if that direction is the right one. But if you are into WebAssembly, probably you might be very interested into Rust because then you will write an efficient language in a WASM module. So I think it makes more sense to write WASM and Rust compared to WASM and Python. Nothing against Python, but I think it makes more sense because if I have to move on the WebAssembly world, I made all this effort to write a front end in a language which is not JavaScript. Maybe at that point I want something which is efficient. Otherwise, I'll probably rather write normal JavaScript code on the client side. But feel free to disagree. I want to fight you in the comments. I'm pumped. I already fought with some people here at the conference, so I'm ready. Drop all your fighting questions. I'm here for that. I came
we
here
love
just
the drama in the fights. Maybe on a more positive, peaceful question, do you have any tips for people looking to start building their own community?
Mm-hmm. Yes, so it's not related to the talk, but I like to answer to this anyway. If you give me the opportunity,
it's mostly because
so
it's
I think
also about what you build. So yeah, more of a soft skill question.
For sure, yes. So I think we need to understand that a community is not a Discord server, because some people think that a community is a Discord server. You can have a community on a media, on a Discord server. A community can even be your social media account. It depends how you use it. It can be your YouTube channel if you do live streams. The community is made by people, and it's very easy to move people away. Like I say, I don't know, the Discord server has been closed, but we can still hang out somewhere. We will find a way to connect anyway. I would say actionable tip, I think, all the mistakes I made, I think I can make a crash course on all the community mistakes because I don't know you, but they didn't teach me how to make a community in high school. I don't know if this is your case. This is not my case. Actionable tip, be very reactive in the community and try to answer people at your best, instead of over promoting. Because if you over promote it, I made it in the past, especially if you have a good social media presence, it's just a leaked bucket. 2,000 people will join, 1,500 people will leave because they can't see the value. It takes a lot of time. Honestly, I would recommend way more to be active in a community and because everyone wants to start their own community. Okay, but once you start your own community, things will become very hard. Even people, I want to be completely honest here because I want to help people. Okay, so sorry for being too brutal. Don't expect that your friends on social media will join you in your community, and that's fine. So I learned that this is fine because people, maybe they want to hang out on social media, they want to do something to gather more publicly. Once you create your own community, people will not follow you. I mean, if they do, that's great. This was not my case. So they are just different kind of people. So if you start your community, start small. I think shameless plug, but I created a very small Rust community now on Twitter. I think it's 100 people. I could easily get to 5,000 through 3,000 just over promoting it. No, I did the opposite. I'm inviting people one by one, leaving everyone the space, and it's growing slowly but steady. So don't over promote it. Don't just get people in. This is my, I don't know, this might be a strange tip, but you can try and see. Maybe
No, I mean,
if you asked for this, maybe you did.
I actually like it because it's more about your personality, being honest and not like just being a salesman. So that's a very good take. I agree. It's good.
Okay, but I think it also depends on the goal of the community. If the community, I don't know, this goal, I don't know, is just to, to support an online event, then of course, that community, I don't know, just to support Frontend Nation, you have a Discord server or whatever, people will join for the event. I think that this person is asking for, I don't know, creating their own JavaScript community, their own Go community. So I think the answer is for this. If I got it wrong, just let me know. Thank you.
No, I mean, no, I think it's probably useful for people in general because people like to connect and do things with them. But then it's also, how do you get there? How do you get started? Do you create a meetup? Do you get to places? How do you bring the people? So I think it's very useful tip overall. So yeah, okay. I think that's all. I wish you, I thank you again for your talk, and I wish you good luck for the upcoming conference that you're currently at. And I wish you an amazing day, Francesco.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for everyone for attending this talk. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. I really love this conference, how this is organized. Sadly, I had another conference on the same day. I mean, I delivered this talk today, some hours ago. I was sure that this would happen. Thanks, everyone. I highly recommend you to follow Frontend Nation everywhere. I think it's a great conference, great big conference, online conference. It's free. You have zero excuses for not attending. So thank you so much for having me.
You heard it here first. Perfect. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.